Okay, good morning, close to afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. It's good to see you all here, and glad that we're starting this class again. So today I want to talk about Lag BaOmer. I want to talk about Lag BaOmer a little bit. We're going to tie it into a little bit the final 13 principle of faith. As we mentioned, we're really winding down with that. We're up to the last one. We spoke about it a little bit. So I want to home in a little bit, and probably the next couple of classes will be around the holidays, and then after Shavuos, we'll start a new topic again. But today, Lag BaOmer was yesterday. Right? Yesterday was Lag BaOmer, a great day, something to celebrate. Unfortunately, this year we weren't able to celebrate as we have in the past, with bonfires and getting together and having good time together and celebrating the day. But we did it in our own sort of private way. And I want to get a little more insight into the depth of Lag BaOmer. So we're going to start off like this. We're going to start off with the famous ideas. And of course, there's a famous idea of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, right, who was a student of Rav Akiva, as we mentioned yesterday's morning minute. And Rav Shimon Bar Yochai passed away on this day. That's what tradition tells us. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai passed away on this day, and therefore we celebrate his yahrzeit, the day of his passing. We celebrate it by commemorating him. And we commemorate his yahrzeit. So I just want to home in a little bit on what does it mean by commemorating a yahrzeit. Today we're not going to give a whole class on yahrzeit, but just talking about it a little bit. A yahrzeit is a day that we celebrate the deceased. But more than celebrating the deceased, we are actually trying to invoke and elevate, right, the deceased, the one that passed away, elevating their soul, because we believe there's an afterlife. Right, we spoke about in the Java for the soul, right, the world to come. We spoke about the resurrection of the dead. There is an afterlife, and our neshama, our soul, which is the main part of who we are, right, that is constantly being elevated. But it can't do anything itself, because once it leaves this world, there's nothing that it could do. It can't elevate itself anymore. That's the purpose of this world. The purpose of this world is for us to elevate ourselves and to grow and become more spiritual. Once the neshama, the soul, leaves the body, it can't do that anymore. It doesn't have the challenges of the physical against the spiritual against the physical. So therefore, there's an idea that the actions that we do, we could sort of help the neshama to continue to grow by the actions that we do in this world. So if we say a piece of a psalm, we learn a little bit, we give charity, right? And that's where the idea of doing things to elevate the soul comes from. That way we could go ahead and do something for the neshama to elevate it. And what better day to do that than on the yahrzeit, right? Celebrating the deceased, the one that passed away, by doing a mitzvah, doing something that they connected with in this world specifically to elevate their soul and to bring them to a new height. Something, again, that's a little beyond their comprehension. What does that mean? Right? But that's what the idea of a yahrzeit. So therefore, on Lag BaOmer, which is the yahrzeit of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, it's been a tradition for the last hundreds of years, maybe even close to 1,000, but more hundreds, about 500-600 years for sure, right, to go to Meron, where Rav Shimon Bar Yochai is buried, and to say psalms there and to light a madura, to light a bonfire, a fire, right, to commemorate his soul. So the question is, what's with the fire? Why a fire? Right? What's the idea of a bonfire? That's nice, right? It's at night, it lights up things. But why connecting to Rav Shimon Bar Yochai? Why is a fire connecting to Rav Shimon Bar Yochai? So just to learn a little bit about Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was the rabbi during the Mishnah era who was a student of Rabbi Akiva, which we'll talk about in a minute, right? Who brought the Zohar, who brought the depth of the Kabbalistic world into this world. Meaning to say that, of course, there's a mystical world out there. God gave it to Moshe, who transmitted it to the elders from rabbi to student. Right? There's nothing new under the sun. But it was kept within the framework of the great rabbis, right? Not even connecting it all to our mundane lives, not connecting it all to us or even great students that were not on that extreme high level. The Talmud tells us that Rabbi Kiva, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai's Rebbe, he was able to attain and walk in the paths of the Kabbalah, right, of the mystical world. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, on his high spiritual level, had the ability to go ahead and bring this into sort of our physical world, and of course in a spiritual way, in a way that's still a little, cryptic, because it's not simple, and it's not just the revealed part of the Torah, in its cryptic way, but still brought it into this world, and we call that the Zohar. Right? He authored the Zohar. And the Zohar is the writing of the mystical world, which of course is just a blueprint, right? To dig deep into it. But that's the idea. That's what Rav Shimon Bar Yochai is, to one extent. And therefore, say the commentaries, that what we are doing and what we are invoking by lighting a madura, lighting a candle, is a fire. Torah is represented by fire, right? The words of God are fire, right? The words of God are fire. The Torah is compared to water too. So fire and water, interesting, right? We know they clash, right? The Torah has two components to it. Of course, they don't clash, but the Torah, the mystical Torah that defies the laws of nature, that are not, it's beyond the laws of nature, right? You could have fire and water working together. Don't want to delve into that too much, maybe for another time, right? But that's why Torah is sometimes compared to water, or it's compared to fire. But the commentaries explain that there's two parts of the Torah, and really the two parts of the Torah are compared to water. One part is compared to water, one part is compared to fire. The more of the revealed part of the Torah is compared to water. What we could see, what we could feel, what we see, we need water. We can't sustain our lives without water. When we'll die of thirst. Most of our bodies made out of water, right? So the revealed part of the Torah, right? The part of the Torah that we are aware of, the Chumash, the Mishnah, the Talmud, the mitzvos, the code of Jewish law, right? That is compared to water. The hidden part of the Torah, the mystical part of the Torah, is compared to fire. The words of God, Numa, are fire, are compared to fire. Right? Something a little more cryptic, a little more esoteric. Fire goes upwards, right? Even though it's an element that goes up, it jumps around, right? It's not something that you could actually feel or touch, but you could see it. Fire is compared to the mystical part of the Torah. Now, there's another idea of fire. Fire also has a polar opposite to it. Fire, on one hand, could warm one up, could heat up our food, could save someone from the freezing cold. We need fire sometimes to boil our water if it's contaminated, to sterilize our utensils, our knives and other things. So fire has a tremendous energy of good, a positive, something that we need. But on the polar opposite, fire is destructive. When we look at fire and we think about fire, also destructive. Fire burns. Fire destroys. You get too close to fire, you can burn yourself up. If you don't know how to handle fire properly, you get burnt. We keep our kids away from fire, even some adults. So fire has polar opposite ways. Either it's helpful, it sustains us, it saves us, or God forbid, it could burn us and really hurt us. Water also could be dangerous. One can drown in water. But we don't look at water as dangerous. When we think about fire, we think danger. When we think about water, we think about sustaining us, living, health. We don't think about danger. Yes, one could drown in water. But fire, when you think about fire, fire is dangerous. Fire is harmful. But if you use it properly, we can't live without fire. We need it to keep ourselves warm. We need to cook our food. We need to sterilize our things. Say the commentaries. That is why the mystical part of the Torah is compared to fire. Because the mystical part of the Torah is our bread and water. It warms our heart. It elevates us spiritually. It makes us connected on a spiritual level that one cannot imagine. What warms us up and sterilizes our physical body to be more spiritual. But at the same time, if the spiritual part of the Torah is used wrong, the spiritual part of the Torah is misused, is not known how to be handled properly, turns into fire. All these Kabbalah centers and all these people, Kabbalah and all that stuff. I'll be honest with you, the only Kabbalah that I learn is through what is written in other books. And even that I try to grapple with. The different actions that we do is from the Code of Jewish Law and things like that. One-to-one, to actually learn, has to first know the written Torah, has to know the revealed part of the Torah. Then you go into the hidden Torah. Don't just jump into it. Yeah, it sounds cool and unbelievable, and I'm going to do Kabbalistic stuff. We have to have respect for it in the way of realizing that it's fire. Yes, it's fire. And God forbid it could burn you, it could hurt you. But on the contrary, if you use it properly, if you show respect for it, if you know how to use it properly, it is a beacon of light. It is our light, it is our warmth, it is our food, and sustains us and saves us and brings us closer to God and elevates us closer to God. And therefore, say the commentaries, there's Rav Shimon Bar Yochai who revealed this and brought this into the world to commemorate his soul. Of course, we say Psalms and we learn and we pray, but we light a bonfire to commemorate this concept that this part of the Torah that he revealed to us, we have to be weary of it. But we also have to show respect for it. So why not just a torch? Why not light a candle like it's customary to light on the yard site? Why a madura? Why a bonfire? To say the commentaries that a bonfire is used to light up the way, right? To light up the way, right? A torch or a candle just to light, to see your way of where you are right in front of you. But when you see a bonfire in the distance, it's like a beacon, right? It's sort of like a lighthouse, right? It's sort of a beacon of where to go. You know direction. You can see it from far away. It's not just right in front of you, the direction of where you're going, the path right in front of you. But a bonfire is actually something that is a marker. It's a direction. That's what Torah really is all about. It's our lighthouse. And therefore, we light a madura to commemorate this, not just any fire, but we light a madura to commemorate this concept and to thank Rav Shimon Bar Yochai for bringing us this into the world. These are our lighthouses. These are our beacons. If we stray off path, we look for the center of spirituality. We look for the center of Torah. Be able to elevate ourselves and to find our path back. That's one idea of Lag BaOmer. I want to talk about another idea of Lag BaOmer. There's another idea of Lag BaOmer. The Midrash tells us, and of course, everything's interconnected with each other. The Midrash tells us that when did the Jewish people start eating the manna? So let's not forget, right? We're in the middle of Passover and Shavuos. Passover is when the Jewish people came out of Egypt, right? Shavuos is when the Jewish people got the Torah, and they're still on their way of growing and getting on their way to Israel. So when did the Jewish people start eating the manna? We know the Jewish people got the manna. God gave them the manna in the desert to eat. When did they receive it? Right away when they left Egypt? They still had some food left over. They brought traveling food with them. So when did they start eating the manna? Says in Midrash, the man started falling down on Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer. For 33 days, right, they had enough food to sustain themselves. Not enough food to sustain themselves. Their cattle, their sandwiches. I don't know if they had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Probably not, right? But they had enough food to sustain themselves. On the 33rd day, on Lag BaOmer, that's when the month started falling down. So it's another idea of this spiritual relationship on this day, a special day on Lag BaOmer, right, which was yesterday, that we commemorate the month starting to come down. So what's the connection? There's no because in Judaism. Everything has a rhyme and reason. Everything is connected. So what's the connection between the month falling down, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai passing away on this day? And let's add one more thing. Say the commentaries, one more thing happened on this day. We know, as you see, as I mentioned yesterday, I'm shaving again, right? We had 33 days in mourning. There's some that have the custom the next half, right? But on Lag BaOmer, everybody agrees that you could shave. Why don't we shave? So as we mentioned, right, the reason why we don't shave is because the students of Rebbe Akiva, the great Rebbe Akiva had 24,000 students, and they perished and they died during this period of time because they didn't show respect for him for another. We talked about that in the morning minute. I don't want to get into it right now. But say the commentaries, when did Rebbe Akiva restart teaching his students? After his 24,000 students died, he gathered 5 students. One of those students was Rameir, great Rameir. One of those students was Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, who we just spoke about, and others. When did he start teaching them? Says the Talmud, says the commentaries, that when did he start teaching? When did he gather these 5 students? Was on the 33rd day of the Omer. It was Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer is when he restarted teaching. Started up with 5 students all over again. That's another thing that we speak about, right? That we commemorate on Lag BaOmer. So what's the connection between these 2 things? Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, right? Rebbe Akiva restarting to teach his students during this period of time, his 5 students, and that the manna, the man, came down from heaven, started on Lag BaOmer. What's the connection between these 3 things? So say the commentary is something very powerful and very important for us to reflect on. Say the commentaries that, let's imagine for a second, Rebbe Akiva. Let's put ourselves in his. He just lost 24,000 students. Okay, of course it wasn't his fault, but he takes the blame for it. Maybe I didn't teach them properly. I didn't show them proper respect. I didn't educate them in how to show proper respect. He's their teacher. He's their spiritual leader. He took care of them. Of course it affected him. Now, he's starting up again. He lost 24,000. Starting up again. How does he start up again? He starts up again with 5 students. Just imagine. Just think about it. How would we react? We lose 24,000 students, God forbid. We lose a business, right? We lose something. We lose something that we tried hard on. Well, we just restart. Not saying we'll get depressed. Maybe some of us will. But we're like, no, we can't do this. Let's try a different venture. Can't do this. It's not for me. Look, I'm not successful in this. Say the commentaries, Rebbe Akiva, no, he overcame his challenges and he restarted again. And he started from scratch. Start all over again from 5. And we'll grow from there. The power of a beginning. The power of not giving up. Saying, I am not going to give up because I had failure. That is a tremendous lesson. So many times we give up because we fail. We said, we're going to start coming to synagogue. It didn't work out. I didn't have experience. I didn't have a good experience. I wasn't able to make it. I had this excuse, that excuse, and there might be legitimate excuses. Forget it. Let's try something different. I'm going to try to make blessings over my food. I'm going to try to be nicer to people. I'm going to try to stop speaking lashon hara, evil talk. I'm going to try to be a little more honest in my business. I'm going to try. And we try for maybe a little bit. Not successful, we give up. Try something else. We have to have this energy of Rebbe Akiva of not giving up and say, no, we're going to try again. As the saying goes, 3rd time's a charm. Try again, over again, and over again. Not giving up. That is a tremendous lesson to learn, a tremendous energy that it's on this day to reflect on. To say, hey, I'm not perfect. It didn't work out. We're going to try again. Let's take it again. Let's try again. That is a mind-boggling energy. That is the power of Rebbe Akiva infused in this day. Now, how is this connected to the manna? Say the commentaries that what is the manna? The manna is a spiritual food. The manna was a food that whatever they wanted it to taste like, it tasted. Didn't have flour in it, didn't have milk. If you were lactose intolerant, it's fine. If you were celiac, if you're this, if you're that, don't worry about it. It had a spiritual component, and it tasted like whatever you wanted. What was unique about this? Say the commentaries that how does one get the energy to start over again? Is by realizing and finding the spiritual component in everything that he's trying to do. Yes, in the physical world, in the world of physical, in the world of mundane, in the world that has no spirituality, there's a past. There's giving up. There's not redoing. There's saying, I tried this already a couple of times. It's not going to work. But in the spiritual world, it could taste like anything. The same action, the same biting. It could taste like anything. It's an energy of constant. It's an energy of no time. Beyond the scope of time, beyond the scope of giving up. The idea of the man, which sustains us, right, what gave us energy, is reminding us that we need to infuse spirituality, right, into the energy of our actions. And not doing it because of something only physical. Well, if we want to go to shul just because we're going to make ourselves feel good, and we don't put any spirituality into it. We don't say because of the spiritual shul, because it's good, I'm able to connect with my friends, I'm able to meet other people, and those are all good things. But we have to infuse spirituality into it, realizing I want to have a better relationship with God. I'm making a blessing over the food to show gratitude to God. I'm being honest in my business because I realize that's what God wants me to do. I'm going to make sure not to talk evil talk, not because only it harms other people, which is very important. But that's also what God wants me to do. When we infuse spirituality into our actions, then we have the ability to continue in doing it, even when we fail. Because spirituality, the same thing, could taste like many different things. It comes down, and we conform it to the way we want it. And we can make sure that we are successful in this. And that's where Rebbe Akiva, say the commentaries, truly understood. He had 24,000 students. 24,000 students. But on his level, right, there was a lack of doing it for the sake of spirituality. Of course it was, but on his high level. And there was a little crack in the foundation, and therefore, boom, the whole thing collapsed. Rebbe Akiva said, no, I'm going to start with 5. I want to make sure there's no crack in the foundation and make sure that each student is spiritually to the high level. And I'm going to start over again. Because I'm not giving up to start over again. Because I believe that the more that starting over again, one could continue and do it. One doesn't have to give up. And therefore, the two things are interconnected. And that's the same reason Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, right, on his, of course, passed away on this day, and connecting to his energy. Because he's the one that brought down this all spiritual, Kabbalistic part into the world. He's the one that brought it into the world, again, as we explained. And therefore, that energy is what allows us to connect and elevate everything that we do on the spiritual level. And there's so many things that we do that are connected to the spiritual world. Washing our hands in the morning, right afterwards. We believe there's impurity in our hands that comes from the mystical world. Right? And so many other things that we do. Because we're infusing the spiritual world into our mundane day-to-day activities. And through that, we build our immune system. We build ourselves up to say, we do not give up, and we can do it again. We can do it again. We can build ourselves up again. Because the Kabbalah is a hidden component of the Torah. What does it mean, the hidden component? The nucleus, the inside. When we connect to the inside of something, you can then transform the outside and make it beautiful and make sure that we do it in the proper way. So we're just going to end with this. The idea of today's class was Lag BaOmer. Let's recap very quickly. Lag BaOmer, yes, was yesterday, but there's a tremendous energy and something that we always have to reflect on. We spoke about the fire. What does fire represent? Fire is looked at as something dangerous, but of course we need fire. We can't sustain ourselves without fire. We can't live without fire. And therefore, we have to make sure that we handle the fire properly. And that's the mystical part of the Torah. Right? The mystical part of the Torah is compared like fire, because if it's misused, we burn ourselves. But if we use it properly, then we elevate ourselves and we warm our heart. We use a bonfire to remind ourselves that it's our beacon. It shows us where to go. We have to make sure that we're looking to where to go, and we have a beacon connecting us there. And then we spoke about 2 other things that are on this day. The man fell down from heaven, and Rebbe Akiva restarted connecting with the students. And the connections of this is Rebbe Akiva is reminding us not to give up. Lost 24,000 students, and he didn't give up. We should not give up. When we want to do something, we have a good idea, we want to do a little more charity, we want to do a little more mitzvos, we want to be kinder to other people, we want to daven a little more, we want to say a little more psalms, we want to learn a little more. Whatever it is that we want to do, don't give up. And one of the ways of giving us the energy of not giving up is infusing spirituality into it. And that's the manna, because the manna could taste like anything. You're sick of one food, regular food. You're sick of it. You eat too much of it. I want to change to something else. Can't eat hot dogs all day for 5 days in a row. I like hot dogs, but you can't eat all the time. You need to change things up. The spiritual world, you don't have to change anything up. The same thing could be taste like anything else because it has so many multiple tastes. And that's in the spiritual world. There's so many multiple opportunities and infinity of opportunity, and you can never give up if you connect to the true spiritual force of it. And therefore, if we keep it connected to the spiritual force of Torah, to the energy, the inner energy, the Kabbalistic component. And he started over again with 5 students, and that was the energy that allowed him not to give up. So let's focus on these unbelievable ideas. Let's not give up. Let's focus on our goals and put spirituality into it. And hopefully through these energies, we'll be, again, vessels as we climb our way to receive the Torah, be able to receive the Torah properly. And this year, the holiday of Shavuos should truly be a holiday of reconnecting to our spiritual self as we build ourselves up and say, I'm not going to give up. Just like a Rabbi Akiva, because I'm going to add in a little more spirituality. I'm not going to get sick of doing the same thing over again. Okay, I've been learning for so long. Okay, I need something new. I need something different. I need a new class. I need a new speaker. I need this. I need that. No, if you connect to the spiritual component, it's infinity. It's knowledge. It's infinity of knowledge. There's always something new. So let's connect to this idea and let's put the Torah as our beacon in our lives, guiding our lives like that bonfire. And hopefully we'll keep on the right path and continue to grow. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Just a quick reminder, tomorrow is a Lunch and Learn. And it's sponsored by Paul Reed, and we'll be having that class at 12 o'clock tomorrow. And the topic is The Secret of Shavuos. And again, that's sponsored by Paul Reed and Watson Community Realty in memory of Paul's grandmother, Luba Hellman, and that will be tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And I look forward to seeing you all there. And again, everybody have a wonderful day.